ability. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brandon House.
And welcome. Glad you are with us on this June 9th, 2025. We're going to be joined right now by Trevor Loudon, the Marxist, the Islamist. They are rioting in L.A. And this is not new. I actually went to, I had Logan go to, I do it myself. I had Logan do it last night and tell me about it. But I had him go to worldviewtube.com and type in guerrilla warfare. I had him type in guerrilla warfare. I said, Logan, how far back have I been warning the country that we were headed toward guerrilla warfare? And he found a broadcast going all the way back to 2009. In fact, there was even specific ones related to 2013 and forward that got very specific about the groups that would be behind them, the guerrilla warfare manual, and how these groups want guerrilla warfare in America. So we've been warning you since, I would say, consistently 2013 that these groups want guerrilla warfare in America. Well, that's what you're seeing in the streets. Absolutely 100% what you're seeing in the streets of LA. Now, the question is, who's behind it? Who's funding it? Who's encouraging it? And that goes from supposed non-government organizations all the way to socialist groups, Marxist groups. Have you noticed the folks are waving their Islamic flags, their Palestinian Hamas flags? That's the green of the red-green axis. Have you noticed some of them are holding press conferences, openly talking about how they are socialists? And then, so that's your red-green axis again. How many years have we been talking about that? Here's the question, too. Is this going to spread? Is this going to spread throughout America? Is this just the beginning? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. I think they want it to spread. Are they baiting Donald Trump? Are they trying to get Donald Trump to act in a certain way to prove their narrative? Oh, we told you he was a tyrant. We told you he's a dictator. Are they going to then use this to impeach President Trump? Should the Marxist Democrats take back the House in the midterms? So many questions here, but the bigger question really is this part of a concerted effort to bring massive chaos to America and it spread beyond LA? Now, I don't know how many of you watched our Friday night broadcast, but I played a 25-minute speech from the general who is the commander of Edwards Air Force Base, ironically, in California. He said, and you can go watch it, I'm sure it's back up on our website for you to watch again for free, worldviewtube.com. He said that when China decides to go after Taiwan, he said one of the first things they're going to do is shut down the power in America. Shut down the power grid. He said they're already in America's power grid. How long before we have some of these anarchist, Marxist, Islamist go after critical infrastructure? I talk about that so much because it is a lifeline. That general talked about the day the power went out in New York when two trees hit power lines as they blew in the wind, hit power lines, and the power went down. And this was in Ohio. All the way out in Ohio, two trees, their limbs hit power lines, and the power goes down in Manhattan. Remember that? Was that 2003, 2004? It was only out for a few hours, and he said, what happened? 30 people died. Okay, so now imagine, folks, if the power grid is disrupted on purpose, either by physical damage or cyber hacking, and it goes down for weeks. Now, if they want guerrilla warfare in America's cities, if they want chaos in America's cities, they know how to do it. And you will be on your own. You will 100% be on your own. Your police will be so overwhelmed, they will not be coming to your attention. Chances are really good they won't even have legitimate communications. Look, don't forget on 9/11, the President of the United States, President George W. Bush, could not get good communications from Air Force One. He had to touch down, what was it, Nebraska, in order to speak to the American people. Now, if a multi-billion-dollar aircraft in 2001 did not have decent communications during a crisis, do you really think your average police department has what they need to communicate with you and receive your calls? And even if they could, do you think they could handle the volume? Again, I'm just telling you, do what you want. Go spend whatever discretionary income you have. Go spend it on a trip this summer. Go on a cruise. Go buy some, tangible item that you want. It's a free country. People can do what they want with their discretionary income. That's fine. I'm not going to criticize anybody for making the choices that they want to make. That's their decision. But don't be upset if the grid goes down and you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have weapons, you don't have ammunition, you don't have what you need to secure your property, your home. Don't complain. If having a new car is more important, or another flat screen TV is more important than having what you need should the power grid go down for days or weeks, that's fine. Go do it. Roll the dice on that. That's everybody's decision. But do not expect your local community, your local taxpayers to bail you out. Don't expect your police to be there for you, because they can't. They will not physically be able to handle all the calls. Remember the LA riots? We have had so many opportunities in this country to watch things happen. Remember the LA riots in the early 90s? Police weren't coming after you. They were not coming for you to help you. They were overwhelmed. All of this data, folks, all of this history has been gathered by America's enemies. They know our weakness. And they know, by the way, which cities to go after. They know which cities are the sanctuary cities. They know where they have a lot of illegal invaders. They know which ones those sanctuary cities are. Joining me now is Trevor Loudon. I talked to him over the weekend, and he's been posting on his social media about this as well. He joins me now. Trevor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
I had Logan go back and check in our database when we were starting to warn the American people about guerrilla warfare. Apparently, starting in Logan, can you find that again for me? Maybe show it to me on the screen. Starting in 2013, I began to do a lot of programs warning Americans about not only guerrilla warfare, but actually showing the guerrilla warfare manuals from the 60s that were still to this day being circulated around the internet. So what we're seeing in LA, Trevor, is what you and I have been warning about. Annie Cyrus, Usama Dakdok, Sharam Hadian, and others, that red-green axis. We saw the Marxists. We had them out there giving their press conferences, admitting they're socialist. We saw the Palestinian Hamas flags flying. We saw the Kafia terrorist neckerchiefs. And now we've got Karen Bass, who I think is a lady that's thrown in years ago with Castro. Now we've got things being said by elected officials seem like they're trying to ramp things up. Blame this on Trump. We need to resist Trump. We need to pour into the streets. We need this to go nationwide. Is this going to go nationwide? And tell me, with the first question, who's behind this in LA? Who's behind this?
The initial spark was provided by the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. This is a pro-Chinese Communist Party that controls the Centro CSO organization, formerly known as the Community Services Organization, started in the 40s by Saul Alinsky. But in recent times, it's come under the control of the Maoists. Now, these are exactly the same Maoist group that started all the George Floyd riots in Minneapolis and spread them across the nation during the summer of 2020. The Freedom Road Socialist Organization has had anti-ICE rallies in recent days in Tampa, New York, Minneapolis, Tucson, all over everywhere they have a base. So they are the initial focus of it, but the Party for Socialism and Liberation is there. The Southeast Los Angeles Club of the Communist Party USA, Democratic Socialists of America, SEIU, Students for Justice in Palestine, Palestinian Youth Movement. But the core of it is the Maoist. This is a 100% communist operation. It's not Antifa. It's not the Democratic Party, though they are turning a blind eye to it. It is a pro-Chinese communist operation 100%. Okay. And they will take it nationwide if they are not stopped pretty darn quick. Is there any truth to that they are calling for a nationwide riots like this coming weekend, which would be Saturday, June 14th? Any truth to that? Yeah, they're already advertising it. This is not hard to find. They put it out on Facebook. There will be. Can we find some of those maps, Logan? Do we have any maps because I thought I saw a map over the weekend, Trevor, that showed all the locations they were planning to riot on Saturday, June 14th. Yeah. Yeah, well, I've seen similar materials out there. They see this is Democratic Socialists of America as well, which operates in every state. The Freedom Road operates in about 20 states. But then the Communist Party USA and all the other groups will also be involved, and they'll get their union friends and their Antifa friends and their immigrants' rights group friends. We're going to see the entire US left plus their Islamist buddies all coming out in the streets trying to create mayhem. And it really depends on the response of the local police, the strength of the local government to see how far they get away on this. I think the damage will be worse in the blue states, which is why Trump is very wise to bring in the National Guard here. It cannot be allowed to develop into the George Floyd situation we saw in 2020, because that's 100% what is planned by exactly the same people that did that. Mm-hmm. Here's a radio show I did. This is April 5th, 2017. Now it's behind our vault paywall at worldviewtube.com/vault. The Las Vegas shooter had 50 pounds of tannerite in his car. You know what tannerite is and what 50 pounds could do? Was the shooter planning? It's a high explosive. Yes, it is. Was the shooter planning to carry out a car bombing? Communist groups are distributing the 1969 Terror and Urban Guerrilla Warfare Manual in preparation for November 4th, 2017. And this manual calls for the use of explosives. Can we expect to see more bombings in America by Antifa-type groups? And it goes on to ask about what kind of security should big outdoor events put in place going forward. That's just one show where we're talking about guerrilla warfare tactics and manuals. That goes back to 2017. So the question is, when we come back, where do you think this is going? And what do you think China's trying to do here? Is this also chaos leading up to the fall? People like David Pine, they're not saying for sure, but they say there's a high probability this fall is the go time for China to move against Taiwan. Do they need chaos in America when that happens? Don't go away. Be right back. We're not changing courses now. We are who we are. We're committed to the truth that we are committed to. Worldview Tube is a broadcast network that I started in 2006, but it's based on my 35 years as an author and speaker and commentator. Worldview Tube is here to defend the truth of a Christian worldview. And we believe we can apply it to all areas of life, like law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, major issues. At worldviewtube.com, we provide news from around the globe that isn't typically covered by mainstream media. Visit worldviewtube.com to watch our experts and analysts discuss all your favorite topics on our 24/7 live stream. Explore our extensive collection of unfiltered and uncensored content from 35 years of production. Go to worldviewtube.com today. Also find us on all of these major platforms and download our Worldview Tube mobile app. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. Joining me is Trevor Loudon.
And we're going to give his website here in just a minute. But here's a July 3rd, excuse me. Here's a July 3rd, 2013 Worldview Radio. 2013. Brandon's been looking for a few days for let's see here. How did the communists infiltrate the civil rights movement in America in the 1960s with the goal of bringing about civil unrest and guerrilla warfare in major American cities? What documentation does Brandon have to prove these claims? This was the same practice being implemented by Nelson Mandela and his communist friends in South Africa. The communists desire to use anything they can to divide Americans and to create unrest. That was the topic. Karl Marx declared that his life goal was to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. So that's a 2013 show, again, dated July 3rd, 2013, talking about guerrilla warfare in America. And I know that many Americans listen to that and these warnings that come in many cases a decade in advance, for police departments and cities and towns and Americans and dare I say real churches to get ready, to help their own, to help the single mom, to help the senior citizens, to help the single widow, We've had plenty of time to get ready. The question is, have Americans been paying attention? Because the thing is, we study this stuff, Trevor, and we oftentimes are giving our audience and Americans years in advance to get ready, to budget, to plan, to prepare for what's coming. But the question is, do they?
Well, they certainly didn't under the Democrats, because the Democrats are colluding with these people. The current FBI still seems pretty clueless about exactly who is behind this. I've heard statements, blaming Antifa and blaming radicals and this, but nobody is. Look, you go to Facebook, look at Fight Back News. They admit on there the Freedom
Fight Back News.
We did this. We organized it. They lay out how they did it. And then they talk about, they have big graphics saying, our job is to bring down President Trump by making the country ungovernable.
Whoa. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Whoa.
That's exactly what they're saying.
Now,
and that's exactly what they said before the George Floyd riots too. But world tensions are way bigger today than they were in 2020. You got all wars breaking out all over the globe, and all of those hostile countries, Iran, Russia, China, etc., have people here on our soil ready to go.
Are they doing this to get ready for, as David Pine, he's not saying it will happen this fall, but David Pine is saying there's a good opportunity that this fall would be go time for China to move against Taiwan. Do you think this is the kind of thing that China would start ramping up a few months before such a thing?
Yeah, or China and Russia, because Russia's getting ready to go against Poland and the Baltics at around the same time. And Iran will launch into the Middle East. Look, this could happen any time, but I think it will definitely happen by the fall. You think unless resolute action is taken.
So you agree with David Pine that there's a likelihood that China would move against Taiwan this fall?
I don't think it'll be against Taiwan. It'll be against America. Taiwan will be part of the mix. They're not. Taiwan's only a diversion, really. The real goal is the United States. But I can tell you, if China does go after Taiwan, the general was right. The power grid's going to go down. You'll see rioting, sabotage, maybe new biological weapons released, all this kind of thing. This is the culmination of many years of planning by our enemies to bring America down. And they understand it's very urgent with Trump in office, because if he's successful in deporting most of the illegal immigrants and reinforcing the law enforcement in this country, their opportunity will be lost. So they've got to bring down President Trump. They've got to make the streets ungovernable now, before the illegals go home, before the police departments are strengthened, before the Justice Department is cleaned out. So this is their time to go, and they're going.
On your Twitter feed, I'm going to give his Twitter feed here in a minute, but you show a screenshot of Fight Back News. Being able to respond to ICE sightings is so important. We are not letting these pigs, as they call them, terrorize our, I don't know what that word is, barrios? What does that mean?
Barrios, that's like the slums, the hood, the Latino hood.
Okay. We will continue the pressure and continue kicking them out. They are not welcome here, end quote. Okay.
Well, if you notice the guy on the right with the hat and with the fist, that is Carlos Montez, one of the leaders of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization.
Ooh. And it is a matter of fact that the Freedom Road Socialist Organization is funded by the CCP, correct?
It is. I don't know if it's funded. It works with the CCP. They send people to China. It's openly pro-CCP.
Okay, so it's pro-CCP. Okay. Let's go to your feed. This is all on Trevor's feed, which is Trevor, Trevor, Loudon, Loudon 1, the number 1. Trevor, at Trevor Loudon 1. You say, we can't fight a phantom. Communists are organizing, promoting, and engaging in violence in Los Angeles and attempting to spark similar actions all over the country. Unfortunately, many people are referring to the rioters as anti-ICE protesters, a mob, or broadly as far-left extremists, which misses the mark. Tied closely to the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, Centro CSO took credit for initiating and organizing the anti-ICE protest in LA. The pro-China Freedom Road Socialist Organization runs Fight Back News and was linked to the 2020 George Floyd protest in Minneapolis. They vow to destabilize Trump's America by making the country ungovernable. And here's the screenshot of that, by the way, for those who doubt it. It's in your feed.
Make the U.S. ungovernable, FRSO, Freedom Road Socialist Organization. Well, as they say it across the top, build the movement against Trump, make the U.S. ungovernable. These are the people behind this. If you went after them and arrested their leadership, this would stop.
Wow. And by the way, I don't do Facebook. I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have Facebook on my computer. I don't do Facebook. So when people send me stuff from Facebook, I don't see it. I can't see it because I would have to get that app and log in, and I don't want to see it because I have no time for Facebook or most social media. But Logan and the team run my Facebook, okay? So we do have a crew that does it, and they're the ones that keep me posted as to what's going on over there, what's being said or done if it's important. And so that's why you ask me when you hear me asking him to go look for something. I don't have Facebook on my computer. I just don't have time to deal with that stuff. But with that being said, Logan and the young guys there, those young 20-somethings in there, they all know all this stuff, and they can stomach it. I can't. My tendency is I might start getting too blunt with some people, so I think it's better I stay out of there. But those guys can do it, and they do. And they just went and they looked. And what is that on? Fight Back News. Is that on X or what?
Fight Back News. That's the Freedom Road Socialist Organization.
Is that X or what is that?
Facebook.
That is Facebook. Okay. Here they say, we condemn these attacks on Raza that happened today in Los Angeles. Okay, what's Raza?
Raza is the race, Latinos. So they're condemning.
Okay, we condemn the attacks on the race. On the race. Okay, well, this brings me back to that. That was another question, but I'll get to that in a minute. We condemn the attacks on Raza, the race, that happened today in Los Angeles. We saw clear collaboration of LAPD with ICE and FBI. We will hold Jim McDonnell, the chief of LAPD, accountable. We have a rapid response network in place with our allies, and we will continue to organize and mobilize when we see ICE activity in our neighborhood of Bowl Heights and East Los Angeles, end quote. Okay, well, that's funny they used the word Raza, because I was going to ask about Raza. Because, Logan, if you don't mind, type into World YouTube Raza, R-Z-A, R-A-Z-A, R-A-Z-A. How far back were we warning people about the group Raza, the race? And they were
La Raza.
La Raza. That's right. La Raza. L-A space R-A-Z-A. La Raza. The race. That group. We did shows with you and others on that years ago saying that these people, 2008, can I see a screenshot of it? 2008, we started talking about La Raza. Now, they were talking about the gringos and how the gringos have got to get out of California and pretty much the whole Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico. They were taking it back, right?
Yeah, well, see, this is what the communists call the nationalities question. They are telling the Latinos in the Southwest that the entire Southwest belongs to Mexico. And so they are going to agitate and agitate, rile up the Latinos, rile up the illegals to basically tear Colorado from Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, Southern California, right up to Utah, goes back to Mexico. And this is what they use to motivate these young Latino revolutionaries, just like they do the same with the young revolutionaries in Hawaii, that Hawaii will become an independent state, just like they're doing the same thing in the Indian reservations and amongst Asian American communities and Black American communities as well. It's a formal thing invented by Stalin, the nationalities question. The communism isn't just the class struggle, it's also the race struggle. It's not just about oppressed workers, it's about oppressed peoples of color. And Maoism is the key. Wherever you find racial agitation, you find Maoists. And Freedom Road Socialist Organization is the premier Maoist organization in America. So this is Maoist. This is a Maoism in action you're seeing right now.
Trevor's going to be with us on TV tonight. Logan, can you reach out to my friend G Van Fleet? Do you know G Van Fleet, Trevor?
Yeah, I do. She'll corroborate this. Yeah,
she will, absolutely. That's why she's so blunt. She would say during the breaks, "Am I being too blunt?" I'm like, "Sweetheart, you can't be blunt enough. Are you kidding me? Come on now." She's like, "Well, I don't get invited to a lot of places because I'm too blunt. Am I being too blunt? Are you going to have me back?" Hun, the blunter you are, the more we like you.
Bluntness is going to save us, Brandon. We've tried everything else.
That's right. I'm like, you can't be too blunt. Here we go. November 18th, 2016. That was a radio show here. November 18th, 2016. One of the organizations that numerous news outlets report that Soros has financially supported is La Raza. La Raza means the race. Closely tied to La Raza is Micha, or M-E-C-H-A, Micha, which can only be described as a separatist organization that promotes the idea of cleansing California, Arizona, Texas, Utah, New Mexico, Oregon, and parts of Washington State of how do you say that? Non-Chicanos? Non-Chicanos?
Non-Latinos, so white Europe, Northern Europeans, blacks, anybody who's not a Mexican, Guatemalan, El Salvadorian, etc.
All the crackers got to go.
Yeah, basically that's that's a bit blunt, Brandon. You're getting a bit blunt there.
Whitey, all the whiteys have got to go. According to Human Events, one of their slogans is "For the race, everything. Outside the race, nothing." Okay, that's one of their slogans. For the race, everything.
That a little bit nuts, yes?
For the race, everything. Outside the race, nothing. I'm laughing because how racist can you be? Can you imagine if some white group went around saying that? But the La Raza, the folks can say that about white European Americans or descendant Americans and narrow word from the media, right?
Well, that's right, because, look, this is the Maoist definition of racism. A person of color cannot be a racist because race isn't just prejudice against someone of a different color. It's having the power to implement it.
Wow. We're going to come back to that. Don't go away. We'll come back to that.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Of course, the media is not going to tell you that these Marxist, Maoist-type groups are weaponizing race. We will. We have for years. Like this group, La Raza, which says that the race, everything. Outside the race, nothing. Now, again, all of this is meant to divide Americans. This is all meant to divide Americans. But I want to come back to the point you were making as we went into break. Can you make that point again, please, Trevor?
Yeah, well, see, most Americans think of racism as when you have a prejudice against somebody of a different color. It's a personal failing. You're a racist. You don't judge people fairly. But the Marxist definition of racism is what this is all about, and is really the legal definition used in America now is only white people can be racist, because racism means having the power to implement racist policies. And black people and brown people and Native American people don't have any power, so they can't be racist. They might hate other races, but they don't have the power to implement it. So this is why we can never understand why the left talks about racism, because it's not about personal prejudice. It's against the power structure. So only whites and maybe a few token blacks who get rich, or a few token Asians who get rich, they can be racist. But anybody else, anybody who doesn't have power, cannot be racist. So this is the whole argument that we don't understand. This is a Maoist argument. It's all about power. Mao Zedong didn't fight a class revolution in China. He fought a racial and ethnic revolution, because there was no class structure in China. Every racial agitation incident in America in the last 40 years has been Maoist. The Japanese reparations movement, the Hawaiian independence movement, Black Lives Matter, the Native American independence movements. These are all Maoist movements. They're designed to split and divide America in preparation for revolution.
But does it work? Because there are so many people today that are so tired of this. They are so past this. Do you know how many of my friends are married to gals from Asia? How many of my friends are married to Asian women? Okay. They're some of the biggest conservative voices out there, and yet they're married to ladies from Asia, right? How about the number of people in America today that have, I don't want to say interracial marriage, because that's not even accurate. There's only one race, the human race, okay? But yeah. My son-in-law is brown, okay? And
we're all fine. We're conservatives are all fine with that. We treat people as individuals.
Well, exactly.
But see, this is why the left hates Trump so much, because Trump has brought so many brown and black people into the conservative movement. He's breaking down the racial prejudice by giving black and brown people the opportunity they deserve. And a lot of them are naturally conservatives. Latinos are more socially conservative than most white people are. Most, I don't even know the word now, but European Americans. So the whole, this is why they've got to bring down Trump, because Trump's destroying their racist narrative. So the only people they can really use right now are the illegals, because the illegals have something to lose by being sent home. So they can use them as cannon fodder. They can use the union members. They use their hard left. They use their Palestinian friends, their Muslim friends. There's still enough bitter and twisted people in America to create a lot of trouble. The racial narrative is dying, but there's still enough of it left to bring this country to its knees. We all know, Brandon, shutting down an airport, a bomb in an airport or whatever could shut down the country for days, blowing up a power station. So We got to treat this seriously. This is a very small minority of the population. There's probably less than 500,000 communists in the country. I wouldn't even think that.
But what about the
that's-
Islamists? We have the Islamists out there, our so-called Islamists with their keffiyehs and their Hamas flags. And by the way, right now as we're on the air, people are apparently being arrested out of the lobby of Trump Tower. How these folks got in with their signs that say, free the what? Free the, I don't know. But it has to do with this whole situation. How did they get in the building? I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little nervous about some of the security. How would these people get into the building? I mean, I know there's shops, I guess, in there. There's restaurants in there. Now, there's a lady saying Jews say... Jews
spy on that.
Yeah. So you got some liberal Jews in there, some Marxist Jews in there? I don't know.
Well, like, if not now, Jews for... There's several Jews for peace, all these things. These are all Marxist Jewish groups. So there's plenty of them.
And now you've got, this is Christopher Murphy. I guess he's the U.S. Senator from New Jersey. Listen to what he's saying, because he's really stoking the flames here.
I mean,
well, I should plug the audio in real quick. I listened to all these, tried to before the show to make sure everybody's, no one's cursing. Then we have to go beep it out. But here we go. This one, I pre-approved this one.
I mean, my first message is to keep it peaceful. I mean, obviously, this is a moment where we have to be on the streets all over the country to protest what's happening.
We have to be on the streets all over the country. Okay, here we go. Keep going.
To our immigrant community, but more broadly to protest what's happening to our democracy. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of the country. And
the most corrupted administration in the history of the country. Where was this guy during the Biden years?
We are going to rise to this moment by being out there on the streets. Ultimately, I think the country sees what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's looking for a fight. There's nothing in what he is doing that is about peace or about restoring order. He's taking a protest that is relatively isolated. People in Los Angeles over the weekend would tell you that 99% of them went about their day, and it was pretty normal because this is not an invasion that has taken over the entire city. And he's trying to turn a protest that is pretty small into something that involves an even bigger confrontation so that he might actually be able to invoke the Insurrection Act. That would be a defining story of the week if he were to do it. And I just don't think, I think we have to make sure that we understand to not take him at his word. He's looking for a fight. He's not trying to calm tensions.
He's looking for a fight. Wait a minute. I think they're the ones that are setting up for him. They're putting him in a position where they want him to trigger that Insurrection Act so they can say, you see, we told you he was a dictator, right?
A tyrant. Look, I did, in my book, Security Risk Senators, I do a whole chapter on Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who is so deeply in bed with the Communist Party, you wouldn't believe. He's actually had a Communist Party member on as one of his senior staffers. He is completely in bed with both Islamist elements and communist elements in Connecticut. So he has lied about this. Karen Bass has lied about this, and another Marxist, Kamala Harris, have all said the same thing. This is President Trump trying to stoke up anger and resentment. They are doing it. This is like Saul Alinsky said, like Lenin said, accuse your enemies of doing what you're doing. President Trump is trying to restore order in the face of a Marxist revolution. Karen Bass, a communist, Kamala Harris, a communist, and Chris Murphy, a communist sympathizer, are all lying to your faces and blaming Trump for the problem their people are causing.
In fact, here's a headline. This is from January 14th, 2024. January 14th, 2024, NBC News. Remember now, January 2024. Fears grow that Trump will use the military in dictatorial ways if he returns to the White House. So there's the predictive prophecy, and now they're going to try to make it happen.
Yeah.
And in fact, they have made it happen because he's calling out 2,000 National Guard, which is really a drop in the bucket when you figure the size of Los Angeles. That's nothing. And by the way, let's not forget, as all of these reporters are running around hyperventilating, that he's calling in the National Guard and the military. Listen to George H. Bush during the riots in LA in the 90s.
One is the urgent need to restore order. What followed Wednesday's jury verdict in the Rodney King case was a tragic series of events for the city of Los Angeles. Nearly 4,000 fires, staggering property damage, hundreds of injuries, and the senseless deaths of over 30 people. To restore order right now, there are 3,000 National Guardsmen on duty in the city of Los Angeles. Another 2,200 stand ready to provide immediate support. To supplement this effort, I've taken several additional actions. First, this morning I've ordered the Justice Department to dispatch 1,000 federal riot-trained law enforcement officials to help restore order in Los Angeles, beginning tonight. These officials include FBI SWAT teams, special riot control units of the U.S. Marshals Service, the Border Patrol, and other federal law enforcement agencies. Second, another 1,000 federal law enforcement officials are on standby alert should they be needed. Third, early today, I directed 3,000 members of the 7th Infantry and 1,500 Marines to stand by at El Toro Air Station, California. Tonight, at the request of the governor and the mayor, I have committed these troops to help restore order. I am also federalizing the National Guard, and I'm instructing General Colin Powell to place all those troops under a central command.
Wow. So is the media going to bring that video forward, or are they just going to forget that part of history?
I doubt it. Look, if anything, I think Trump could be faulted for not doing enough rather than doing too much. You know, he did nothing. And by the way, the LA riots were completely fomented by communists as well. 30 people died, massive property damage. And the communists never got the blame for it. That was the Revolutionary Communist Party USA. All of the riots right back from the 60s have been organized and fanned by communist forces in America. And how many Americans do you think understand that fact, Brandon?
Well, most don't. Most don't. Absolutely not. Now, President Trump has said he would not be opposed to seeing Tom Homan arrest the governor of California. Now, you're going to maybe have to bump the volume a little bit because he's kind of away from the microphones, having just returned, I guess, from Camp David. This is today, President Trump.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I was Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget. What is your Gavin?
Wow. Wow. What do you make of that? I mean, are we, should he be careful though with that kind of statement? I mean, again, do we have to be careful not to fall into their trap?
Well, look, I think we should be blunt, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Look, we got facing an insurrection. Trump has every right to call out insurrectionaries, call out, this would not have happened if we didn't have so many communist Democrats running these states for so long, directing state money to radical groups, turning a blind eye when these people protest and beat up conservatives. They've set the stage for this. There are charges to answer here. And I think nobody should be beyond the law, and that includes the governor of California or the mayor of California.
Phone lines open, 1-800-347-9829. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebG.com. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Again, 1-800-347-9829. Let's go to the phone lines. What do you guys think about what you're hearing today? It's certainly not what we're hearing in a lot of the media, even on Fox News and places, are we? Let's go to Roger in Minnesota. Roger, thanks for calling in, line one.
Hi, I'm from Minnesota, and I'm wondering, first off, what about the Chinese national military-aged men that came over the border illegally? What part will they have? And then again, with Timmy Walz as our governor and his strong ties to the CCP, what do you think his position is going to be, or his actions?
Trevor?
Well, look in my book, Stealth Kamala Harris's Communist Roots, we had a whole chapter on Tim Walz and his deep ties to the CCP, which have been going at years, and his ties to the communist movement in Minnesota, which is really the headquarters of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, by the way. So, like when the George Floyd riots were on, he was governor. He refused for 3 days to send the National Guard in to quell the rioters, allowing massive amounts of property damage to be done. So look, Tim Walz is completely on the other side and will do everything he can to empower the communists and radicals. And yes, there are, some people say, up to 100,000 military-aged Chinese nationals in the country. We also have Chinese students who are working with the intelligence services, businessmen, etc. So if I expect many of them to be involved in future sabotage, possible assassinations, terrorist incidents, biological weapon releases, etc. They're just caught, two Chinese nationals smuggling an agricultural potential bioweapon into the country just in the last few days. So we know that military-aged Chinese men have been slipping across the border, many believed to be special forces. They're not coming here to go to Vegas. They're here to create chaos when war breaks out or in the lead up to a war.
Let's go to John in Tennessee, line 2. Hi, John. Thanks for calling in.
We also have Hey, Brandon. First of all, I want to say thanks for my wife for getting me to watch you every day.
Thank you.
And,
your wife.
You interviewed her, actually.
Really?
Yeah, she was the MD that was a former tour guide at Graceland.
Oh,
Dr.
yes,
P.T.
I sure
Johnson.
did. Yes, I sure did. Well, thank you, John. I'm glad you called in. I'm glad you're a viewer now.
Okay, just a comment. I'm very patriotic. I write courses on the flag and the spiritual symbolism of the flag and the founding documents. But just a reminder, this Saturday is Flag Day, and it's also Trump's birthday.
Very interesting timing. Very interesting timing.
Yeah.
Which is why we're going to see riots on this weekend.
And a lot of our military is going to be, or some of our military at least, is going to be in D.C. doing a parade. Are they not, Trevor?
I believe so, yes.
I guess I would be a little concerned about some folks infiltrating that parade and trying to create problems for the patriotic MAGA folks there, Trevor.
Look, that sounds a bit over-conspiratorial, Brandon, but yes, I think that's just the thing possible. Look, everything's on the table right now, and everybody's got to be at very high alert because.
Well, how many times have we seen people out for a Christmas parade run down and run over by a car by someone shouting Allah Akbar or something, right?
Well, that's right. So there's going to be organized violence, but then there's going to be the lone nutcase, the lone Islamist or the lone radical who just goes off and drives his car into a bunch of flag wavers or something like that. So we can see all of this happening.
Let's pray none of it happens.
Very polarized. There's organized stuff going on, but there's just crazy people out there too who will fly off.
Oh yeah. Well, we've been getting posts on our Facebook page I've been shown the screenshots of it. Some Muslim retribution. The only good conservative is a dead conservative. So that we've been getting that a couple times since last week, and now over the weekend that continues. So there you go. That's what they're telling us. Smitty from Wisconsin, line 4. Hi, Smitty.
Wow, Brandon, as I'm listening to the show, man, I'm just, amazed. I've been a fan for quite a while, been following you, praying for you and your team all along.
Thank you.
Especially enjoying your Sunday night teaching in Revelation. But I called because I had a couple of thoughts this morning during prayer, and one was, should we really be surprised by a state governor, Newsom in California, that let all the reservoirs go dry and then torch citizens' property in order for land grabs? And now we see his followers absolutely following suit.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Smitty. How much of this is
my second thought, and I posted this on my Facebook this morning. When will we see revival come to America? When our desire to hit our knees becomes greater than our desire to hit our neighbors.
Great call. Thank you, Smitty. Quick response, Trevor, before I go to 2 more calls, if I can squeeze them in.
Well, I agree with Smitty. Look, this country is in trouble because, as Solzhenitsyn said, why did Russia go communist? Because Russia forgot God.
Wow. Trevor just froze there for a minute.
We wouldn't be in this trouble right now.
If we had remembered God.
Yeah.
Let's go to John in Michigan. John, line 1. Hi, John.
Very, very sarcastic comment I'm going to make. J6, that was a riot, but these are peaceful protests. And didn't Olinsky say, when you control the language, you control the narrative? And thank you for your program. Thank you.
Yeah, so these are peaceful protests, say the mayor of L.A. and different people out there like Kamala Harris. But the guys that walked between the velveted ropes inside the U.S. Capitol in single file were insurrectionists. Even though the doors were open, and they were told, come in, just don't damage the property, but come on in.
But it's the narrative, isn't it? We've just seen Chris Murphy and Karen Bass and Kamala Harris say this is all Trump's fault. He's stoking this. These are just peaceful protesters. This is the narrative. Most of the left-wing media will come with. So yes, he who controls the narrative is in a powerful position. This is why Trump has to get on top of this really, really quickly.
All right, he'll be joining us tonight on Brain House Live. TrevorLoudon.com, TrevorLoudon.com. You can also follow him on X, which is @TrevorLoudon, and then the number 1. Trevor, thank you, my friend. You'll find all of his books, by the way. All his books at TrevorLoudon.com if you want his books. All right, now, stay tuned for Crosstalk with your host, Jim Schneider, coming up at the top of the hour at vcy.org. America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s on over 100 outlets. All right, thanks for listening. Take care. And Trevor is back with us as we continue the final moments to the top of the hour on WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and on Worldview too. Trevor, President Trump has put out a tweet. Let's see what he says on Truth Social here. He says, if they spit, we will hit. This is a statement from the President of the United States concerning the catastrophic Gavin Newsom inspired riots going on in Los Angeles. The insurrectionists have a tendency to spit in the face of the National Guardsmen, women, and others. These patriots are told to accept this. It's just the way life runs. But not in the Trump administration. If they spit, we will hit. And I promise you they will be hit harder than they have ever been hit before. Such disrespect will not be tolerated, end quote. Okay, so Trevor, I don't think he's really doing much differently than what you and I would do if we were in his position, particularly being what they have put him through over the years, right?
Well, any responsible leader has to stand by his troops and his police and his first responders in the face of a blatant insurrection. So full props to President Trump for making that statement.
Absolutely. Logan, let's see.
The fact that the police have had to tolerate this in the past is a disgrace.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Logan, is there anything else going on the social media side that you're seeing while we're live on the air? You did see, I'm sure, all this last night, Trevor, all the bricks and rocks going down on squad cars there in LA on the overpass. I was watching it, and I was just like, wow. I mean, these people have no concern for life. They actually were
revolutionaries.
They were literally trying to hit police officers with what looked like 5-10 pound rocks. That could, if not seriously injure them, it could kill them.
Look, anybody caught doing that should be getting 5 to 10 years in jail.
I don't know why they didn't turn and shoot them dead.
Well, because who controls the narrative, you know?
I mean, if someone is about to throw a rock or is throwing rocks on a bridge as a deadly weapon, and I mean, I don't I'm thinking to myself, how is this not deadly force?
Well, they're going to have the National Guard there today, maybe 500 Marines. If this kind of stuff is repeated, all of those people should be arrested and charged with felony offenses. You do that, you do that, look, this problem would end pretty darn quickly.
Now they're looking for some of these people that were throwing these massive rocks at the cars as they went driving by. And I think there's been a reward put out to see if they could find some of these people that are wearing masks. So, you know, the internet, there's like that guy right there. They're looking for him, his face, the guy with the helmet. Look at that. He is everywhere on social media. People trying to figure out who he is because I think they put out an award for him. There's a reward.
Well, listen, these are got to be federal charges against people like this because they're only going to get a slap on the wrist in California.
Here's Karen Bass. Oh, by the way, tell us a little more about Karen Bass. Tell us a little more about her.
Karen Bass was involved with the Line of March, a Maoist communist group. She was involved with the Black Panthers. She was involved with the Communist Party USA and Democratic Socialists of America. And she was credibly charged by Daryl Gates, the former police commissioner, of running guns from Cuba to gangs in LA. She's been to Cuba at least 17 times. She is a hardcore communist. Hardcore. There's nothing else you can say about her.
Do you think if I invited her on my program, she would come on my program live?
No, not a chance.
I'd love to interview her. Why do none of these leftist, communist, Islamic, jihadists, why do they never want to come on my program, Trevor?
Well, why wouldn't Al Capone come on the program and admit that he's a gangster? Because these people are working with enemies of America, and if the American public knew what they were doing, they would clamor for treason charges.
Here's what she had to say. Here we go. Karen Bass, mayor of LA.
We do not want to play into the administration's hands. We're working with officials, we're organizing resources, but what we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. When you raid Home Depot and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic.
Okay, but when you target synagogues, that's fine. What is that, Karen?
That's fine. Well, this is revolutionary truth. She's a communist. Whatever a communist, they don't have a different set of morality from us. We believe in telling the truth as it is. Revolutionary truth means saying whatever serves the revolution. So she is flat out lying. She is basically presided over an administration that has attracted maybe hundreds of thousands of illegals, including criminals and terrorists, into her city, and she is blaming the man trying to clean it out for causing the trouble. You know, you couldn't get any more blatantly dishonest than what she's been.
Trevor Loudon, he'll be back tonight on Brandon House Live with the latest developments. TrevorLoudon.com in the meantime. Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks, Brandon. Always a pleasure.
Our website, worldviewfoundation.com, if you want to support us. Take care.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the